For a long time now, we've had people asking us for years to make a GN case, make the Gamers Nexus case. And we've obviously been interested, but it's simply not feasible because the fact of the matter is that just making the tools to make the case, because you need tooling, can cost easily upwards of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And not only is that really out of reach for a product of that class, that it's too expensive for a business of our size to do. Also, the logistical concerns are insurmountable for us because you need to talk to factories everywhere in the chain. We've done tours of all these places, by the way, and today what I have is an option to potentially make a case, but this is going to be an extremely open, unscripted, I do have notes, but unscripted talk with the community in the most sincere sense, where I'm going to provide you concerns with if we design a case by working with a case company, what are the ethical boundaries, what transparency is required, stuff like that. I'm obviously very aware of all this stuff. This is, we trade on our credibility, so we've rejected most offers like this for that reason. But I'm also going to tell you the upsides, where this type of product specifically is one a lot of people have requested. I think it would be fun. I think we can make a kick-ass case. And we also would have the ability to, for the first time, for us at least, show the behind-the-scenes prototyping by hand. We'd be able to show the entire manufacturing process, which we've shown bits and pieces of these things in videos and all the factories in the chain, but we've never really shown like the design and development stages. My plan would be to film all of that and document it all, which also helps with the transparent part of it, so that's nice, and make a cool video. But anyway, we're gonna talk about that today. This is, like I said, not scripted, and I really do want earnest feedback from you all. I don't want a bunch of stupid, useless bullshit comments and memes, because that's going to waste my time when I'm trying to open dialogue here to give you all a chance to shape what answer we give the company that approached us. Before that, this video is brought to you by Linode. Linode is a Linux server provider that GN has used for years now for its own servers. Alongside dedicated hosting, Linode also makes it easy to cut out third-party VPN servers and to build your own VPN that you fully control, doable through a few guided clicks in its interface. Linode has hundreds of guides for even more advanced server builds, and with Linode, you can roll out your own services like Plex and Nextcloud for your own media and file sharing services. Gamers Nexus viewers get a $100 credit, good for 60 days on new Linode accounts. Visit linode.com/gamersnexus or click the link in the description below. Okay, so first of all, context. Manufacturing a case, like I said, the tooling is hundreds of thousands of dollars. We have reported on cases with tooling costing upwards of $1 million. Those are normally like weird Halo flagships, but not uncommon to see several $100,000 of dollars worth of tooling for a case, which does mean that simply we can't do it. So, you know, that's kind of the start and the end of it. That's like a down payment for our own building if we wanted to do that. So that's one issue entirely. Now, and we could maybe one day try to surmount that issue. But the problem after that is the logistics. There's not just like the case factory that you go to the case factory and you say, yes, I would like one case, please, with 2 fans in the front, 1 in the rear, and oh, let's paint it silver. It doesn't really work like that. You've probably seen our factory tours, and you need everything down to a screw factory where screws are made. So you need the screw factory, you need the cardboard, have fun with that one. You need the cardboard box factory, you need the sheet metal factory, you need the factory that does all the stamping, pressing, has the robot arms that do the automated movement. We're gonna show footage of all these factories in here. The footage that we are showing is not necessarily related to the company we may or may not work with on this project. I'm just asking the editors to drop footage in, so they don't even actually, Keegan doesn't know who the company is at the time he's editing this video. So we're gonna drop footage in, might not be related. Anyway, so you need all those factories. You need someone handling logistics and someone managing the BOM cost list and managing the timelines and the schedule. And it's a very complicated process. Even just like the machine shop to make the tools, the people to hand make the first 2 prototypes, that's all stuff that is out of our league, is what I'm saying. So the only way we will ever make a case, at least right now at our current size, is to work with an existing case company and basically take control and ownership of the design, or most of it, and then work with them as a sort of logistics and manufacturing expert that we then supply designs to, or augment their designs and improve them, and then that becomes the case. So that's the only way this could potentially happen right now today. Until we're like, maybe at Linus Tech Tip size, you can start doing this stuff on your own, but even there, you're gonna look at it and go like, holy crap, that is so much opportunity I'm tying up in tooling. So that's the way it would happen. Now, there are obviously downsides to this and a lot of upsides to this. First, some context. Private testing is very common in the industry for more older school tech media, not as common in the YouTube space, but some people do it. And private testing is basically behind the scenes, like company says, hey, we have this great innovative idea, will you try it out? And sometimes it's as simple as people saying, yeah, sure, I'll let you know what I think, which is basically what we do. We don't charge if we even bother to look at it and have the time. Other times you have people who will do a professional service and charge for it, and whatever, that's their business. Personally, we don't do that. So about 5 years ago, so about 2015 to about I want to say 16, maybe 17 might have been the last one we did. We did a couple of private testing contracts. It was maybe, I want to say like 4 or 5 total. So if you go look at the old NZXT blog, for example, there's some stories on there that I've written that were from probably about 2016 or so. And that was back when those of you who've been with us a long time may remember the personal circumstances that I had at the time that were right around when we were also probably about a year before when we moved. Anyway, personal circumstances, I took some private testing jobs to make sure we could pay the bills we needed to pay. But as soon as we could afford to not take those by working Patreon and GN Store and advertising revenue up, I dropped it, completely dropped private testing. So that's the first bit of context. We don't take private testing on principle because I just don't like it. And even if I think we can ethically isolate it, I just think it's easier not to, and instead be happy with the money I am making with Patreon and the store and not worry about the extra money that we could make from private testing because frankly, I don't need that money. So that's kind of how you can make a ton of money doing that kind of testing, but it's just not something I'm really that interested in. We have what we need. Now, making a case is a little different than that because that's actually designing something and putting potentially our name in it or attaching our name to the marketing or whatever. So the cool part there is that it's us doing a lot of or part of how it develops the design work, whereas with private testing, they basically say, we have this thing, please work on it, and then we'll try and fix it. So all of that stated, I'm not a very positive person, generally speaking, in our videos. So I'm going to start with the negatives. Downsides, reasons that I have personally, because this is my job at this point, personally rejected most of these types of offers in the past, and we've gotten a lot of them, is number one, we would not be able to review the product, at least not in the same way. So we could still test it, we could still go through our testing suite, but we couldn't really call it a review. Maybe we could call it a benchmark is probably what we would do, and then immediately say, hey, we had a hand in this product or whatever, and disclose kind of the level to which we've had a hand in it. Number two is conflict and ethics concerns, which bleed into number one. They're really the same thing. One causes the other. So that's a problem, and our brand is strictly traded on credibility, obviously, and integrity, and all of these things that you've all come to know of us. So that's why I reject those deals. I think we can navigate those with sufficient transparency with a video like this. And the other cool thing is that this specific project, if we were to do it based on community feedback, and I hope people are watching this whole damn thing because they're going to get part of the picture otherwise, but I think that we can navigate it specifically, the ethics that is, specifically because we would just say, we're working with this company to make this case, and that's what you need to know. We're not going to review it like we would normally review it. We'll do the testing. We'll do testing on prototypes. We'll have behind the scenes video. Here is the prototype literally being handmade. Here is the HQ. Here's the factory. Here's all the other factories attached to that factory that are needed, and show our sort of design room meetings, some of the meetings with the company that we would potentially be working with, and then showing the initial prototypes, showing the later prototypes, and showing some of the production and then doing testing against all those and all the fan configurations. Basically filming the product development process that you don't normally get to see. We would have to hold all those videos until right before the case is launching, obviously, just because these companies obviously want to keep their stuff confidential, and we agree with that decision. So we'd have to hold that stuff until pretty close to when it comes out, but we would be able to produce it, is sort of what I have laid out to the company as our demand in terms of transparency. So I think that's cool content, and I think that it probably satisfies the need for showing our level of involvement, because that is more than probably publications in other industries or mainstream news would do. So that's number one. The second concern is reputation. If we were to embark on working on a case with a company, we would basically have lines in the contract that say, if you guys don't listen to us and you exercise control and you don't let us really have the freedom that we thought we would have, we reserve the right to say, you know what, pull our name off this product. We want absolutely zero association with it. Do not ever speak our name relating to this product ever again. It is now yours. We don't want to touch it. So we would need that in there, because if the company is not really not working the way we think they would, not listening to us, we think that it's going to be a bad product, we would need to make sure we're not attached to it and then review it as normally, and that's the way it goes. So those are the two main concerns. Basically, reputation. If they suck and they make something that sucks, I need to have the ability to say, fuck this, I'm out. Like, that's your responsibility. See you in the review. We'll burn it then. And then number two is, again, the isolation of sort of reporting and journalism, testing a product, and helping develop or design a product. So that's the downsides. That's what I'm trying to navigate. And those are where I've stopped in the past. I've never made a video like this, because every time we get an offer, and there are several a year, to help a company design some kind of product, we basically say, that's not really what we do. Like, we could do it. We could do probably very good testing, maybe better than whatever the company is could do in-house even. That's probably why they approached us. But we save that testing for public. And that's kind of what I really love about what I do, is I save all that stuff to just publish it. Because my goal is to build a validation lab, as in with thermal chambers, acoustic, like a semi-anechoic chamber, even like a salt spray tester, for example. I want to start building all that stuff over the next 2 years. And my goal is to largely use it to produce public data, and maybe work on our own products, obviously. So that would be private data. But as opposed to being like a normal validation lab where you would look at products within the industry that we review. I don't like that idea. Maybe we would look at products from another industry that we don't review. I'd be all right with that. That's completely fine with me. If a company that makes heat sinks for signage that's exposed outside, like for a fast food restaurant sign, they have a heat spreader that they use. If they want us to test that, cool, whatever. We don't review those things, sure. But I don't want to do like contract testing really for this industry, for the stuff that is made. All that rambling aside, and sort of just being open about my thought process and why I've always rejected these offers, the reason I'm actually considering it enough to make this video this time is because so many people have asked us to make a case. This particular company, I'm not going to reveal them just in case we decide not to do this. This particular company, we have a very long history with. We have both an extremely negative history and an extremely positive history. And I think that's good, because I know what the really bad looks like, and I know what to be afraid of, and I know what the really good looks like, and I know what I can expect in terms of competence and support. So I find that to be a good thing, that we have been through hell with the company, and we've been through really good times with the company, and it all just depends on if the product they made was good or not, and how their communication was. And they've been on an upward trajectory lately, so that is why I'm considering this. Now, the real thing is we get to make a kick-ass case, and this is something that I would personally be very involved in. Patrick would be very involved in with testing. He's got an extremely sharp eye for finding flaws and things on just like case structure and build quality. And then we'd probably get Andrew involved too on the visual and ID as an identity side of things. And again, also we would get the option to do all these behind the scenes videos. I'm assuming that travel will be open enough by the time that this moves anywhere that we would be able to fly out to factories and HQs and film stuff. And just as an aside, I'm working very hard at improving my Chinese. So I think that as it gets better would also give us some additional insight where we're not gonna have as many mistranslation issues as we've had in the past when we go to these factories. And it would be pretty useful here to kind of talk design. So lots of cool content opportunities from an angle that we haven't been able to show before. We've always been able to show the factories and the manufacturing, but never really the level of detail you would need for a true here's the design meetings, here's the calls with the different people in the design meeting or team, here's a handmade prototype, here's first round testing. Like I said, all that would have to be published around when the product comes out. Can't publish it that far ahead for competitive reasons. But it would be really cool and unique insight that otherwise we don't have the opportunity to show, because the products are completely under NDA normally in that period and we wouldn't be able to show it. So, question then for you all is really just what do you think? And I would really appreciate it if people write out well thought out responses and don't just like be a dick about it. Like it's not actually helpful to me if you're like, ugh, no, don't do that, gross, because that doesn't tell me anything. So I'm very in the middle right now where it would, at one level, you're sort of shooting yourself in the foot because now you can't review that product and that's the core business. Now, the other side though is sometimes you see improvement when you review a product and the next one comes out, and sometimes you don't. And even if you do see it, it's very slow improvement, and eventually they might get to what I would really like to see in a case, but it's gonna take a very long time if we're just iterating one review and one product at a time. So that's kind of the deal here. I'm, like I said, very aware of all of the conflict concerns. I'm very aware of the transparency needs. That is why I'm doing this. I don't need you to tell me that those are the concerns and those are the needs, because I already know of them. What I would like to know is, what do you think? So I actually spoke with Der Bauer at length about this as well. Der Bauer publicly has his name on the Lian Li 011 series cases, and you all probably are aware of those cases. You probably know that he was involved. He told me back in an interview when it first came out, the 011 Dynamic, can't remember if it was 80 or 90, but he told me it was 80 or 90% of his design, that case. And so either that's one of the best cases we've worked with, and the 011 XL also. So clearly people who are experts in working with these products can make good ones. So I think that's sort of the precedent we would like to follow. And we'd like to add a little bit additional media creation behind it. And we would have a whole lot of testing where, obviously we do this anyway, but we've got some unique tests that we would like to potentially do, and then publish sort of all that behind the scenes data with the final release product data, and not really brand it as a review, but instead brand it as this is a benchmark, and open the video with we designed or we helped design, or whatever the appropriate sense of ownership of the design is. So if we did most of it, we'd say we designed this case, or if they did most of it, we'd say we were extremely involved in the development process of this case, and just put it out there right away. That's the disclaimer, and it's not a review. It's a benchmark of a product that we are clearly biased about because we have however long, let's say 6 months to 8 months of experience working with it and trying to make it successful and good. And of course, this would be not something we'd be doing for free. So we're going to be compensated in some way by the company if we were to get involved in making a case. I'm not sure how. I don't know the details right now. We haven't gotten that far. But there would be a financial exchange involved, and that's why we can't do a review of the product. So you lose out on the review, but you potentially get a much better product as a result, depending on how much freedom we have with the design and how well we plus the company can execute it. They would need to push back on us when we have unrealistic expectations because we're not manufacturers of cases, and then we would push back on them when they want to do stupid things. So that's kind of the arrangement it would be. I'm interested in the idea. I could be excited about it either way. I could be excited about waiting for them to actually make the thing and just doing the behind the scenes filming as we usually would do if they gave us access, and not having any special exchange for it, no financial exchange, or I'd be happy with actually being involved in making the product. So then again, assuming that we're not being shady, because I've just done all of this to explain why that is a concern of mine, and knowing that we don't do private testing and haven't for a number of years now, you should kind of have an idea of where we stand and why I'm split on it and why I'd like community feedback. And if we go forward with it, because more people say that they would really like a kick-ass case made by or designed by GN and made by the other company more appropriately. If we go forward with it, then I hope that you just see the level of transparency here and in the eventual benchmark that would not be a review, and you know that that it can be trusted in the framing that we give it. And that if you obviously want a fully third-party review at that point, you go to someone else. But we would still do all the testing because, frankly, I'm not aware of anyone else in media who has quite our database on cases. There are hundreds and hundreds of rows of cases and the combination of those tests and years of work. And I'm not aware of anyone else who has that. So we would still want to provide that. We just wouldn't call it a review at that point. It would be an analysis of either our own product or a product that is functionally something that we designed. So I don't know, that's the deal. Frankly, I'm leaning more towards wanting to do this design and development because we've been offered in the past, but I feel like now Patrick and I really have the expertise we would need to do it right. There's a huge amount of pressure if we did this, like an insane amount of pressure, because now you're taking like the most critical people of cases and asking them to make a case. So it's very much a like, I don't know, like, can we do what we ask everyone else to do, basically? And there's some trust there too, where you're trusting, in my case, I'm trusting that the manufacturer is going to actually listen to what I say. And if not, then we're pulling our name out of it. We don't want any involvement with it. You know, it's yours now. We'll review it when it comes out. So that's kind of the layout. At this point, there's no point in me saying this, but I hope that you watch the whole video before writing a comment, because otherwise it's not useful to me because you don't have the context and you're going to be missing something that I really wanted to provide to get feedback. But if you're here, then you probably watched it all, and thank you very much for spending your time doing that. I hope that you think about this and think about what would your view be genuinely. Like, if I didn't tell you any of this, nothing at all, and just one day a video pops up that says, I don't know, we made a case. And it starts with, we partnered with, or we worked alongside, we collaborated with this case company, and we made this thing, and here it is, and here's how it performs. You know, what would your, sort of think about your opinion there, and think about how, now that you have all this context, that might be influenced. Maybe you are less concerned about it, or maybe you never would have even thought of this, because I never said anything. That's always that's kind of the bramble that you walk through. When we provide more information, a lot of times we find that people are now basically just parroting what I said as a concern back to me because they didn't think about it before. And so now that we've done this, we're going to get some of that, which is unfortunate. But I hope that you actually think through it and kind of let me know what you think. So this is the opportunity to get a really cool GN case. I am completely okay with it if most people say, nope, just review it. But you know, for all of you who've asked us to make a case, and there've been a lot of you, now's your time to sort of voice it in the comments again. And I think we can navigate things responsibly, and it'll be very transparent, obviously, but we'll see. We'll see what the community says. And just to be very clear one final time here, this is not something that, we can't just do like a GN store.gamersnexus.net case right now. In the future, sure, I'd love to do that, but it's just not feasible. We don't have the logistics framework. We don't have anyone on the ground in China or Taiwan where the factories are actually located. And I mean, that's where you'd have to go. We just have no ability to do it right now, today. And I'm not sure that we ever will. I've seen the size of those operations, and it is insane how complex they are. So basically what I'm saying is it's either yes or no. It's not yes, but do it independently on your own. Because then basically we're saying, please give us like $1 million so we have some money to burn while we figure out what we're doing, and then screw up the product because we don't have any contacts. So that's not an option. It's yes, I'm interested, and do it with the transparency, or no, I'm not interested. I just want you to review it. Make more charts. Make more charts for me. I need more charts. So that's it for this one. I don't know, unscripted. So we'll see how it goes. I'm sure there's something that people will skip over and then ask questions about, but hopefully it's not too long to create too many of those problems. Subscribe for more as always. You can go to store.gamersnexus.net if you want to support the stuff that we do normally, like the reviews. Patreon.com/gamersnexus. Like I said, both of those things allowed us to stop doing private testing, but this is quite a bit different because it's potentially just actually manufacturing. But we haven't signed anything yet, and we told the company we're making this video, and we'll leave them unnamed. They're going to be watching the comments like hawks to figure out if I'm going to say yes or not. So that's it. See you all next time.